Yeah, my name is Bill Ross. I'm a professor emeritus, and for 31 years I was special collections librarian at the UNH library. Yeah, Betty and Barney Hill were an interracial New Hampshire couple. They met while he was on vacation and married in the early 1960s. So in September 1961, Betty and Barney took a trip to Montreal, and they returned through northern Vermont and northern New Hampshire on September 19th. As they were entering around Twin Mountain, they started seeing bright object in the sky. And later on, when they got down near Indian Head, near Franconia Notch, the object really became more apparent. They stopped the car. Barney claimed that he saw, beings inside the UFO. He got out, told Betty to really get back in the car and just kind of make a run for it. At that time, as they got back on Route 3, the object settled down over the car. They blacked out and didn't come to until they were traveling on Route 3, miles down the road, a couple of hours later. So this was, an example of what they would later call lost time. They didn't know what happened. They found all these strange things that had happened to them in their car when they got back to Portsmouth. And thus began this kind of first documented case of what they would later consider alien abduction. The Betty and Barney Hill collection is really a reflection of their experience, and then later on, Betty's involvement in really trying to advocate for the fact that UFOs and visitors from other parts of the universe exist. It includes a lot of their correspondence, it includes contracts, it includes subject files that she developed about UFOs, publications about them, photographs, really a broad range of materials that document not only their experience, but Betty's research later in life, which continued on up until about 1990. After the alleged abduction, for a time being, Betty and Barney tried to keep it quiet. They did report it to the Air Force and to some agencies that investigated UFOs, but they really didn't talk about it very much. After a while, they shared their experience with people at church and with some other experts who advised them to go under hypnosis to see if they could recover some of the memories from the time of their alleged abduction. As much as they tried to keep it quiet, a reporter for a now defunct newspaper, the Boston Traveler, tracked down the story and published it a few years later. And at that time, they really became internationally known as alien abductees. And so they kind of took it on themselves to try to control their own narrative. So they collaborated with an author to produce their own account. And as part of that, they went on television, did interviews and other things that really kind of cemented their position as some people kind of say the Adam and Eve of alien abduction. So in the early 2000s, I think it was around 2002, I was approached by Valerie Cunningham of the Portsmouth Black Heritage Trail and David Waters, who at the time was an English professor here. He's now state senator. And they wanted to set up a meeting with Betty to talk about bringing her collection to the university. And so I met with her at her home. But I realized at that time that, this was a New Hampshire story, and it was one that needed to be preserved. This collection and these artifacts are really a major part of popular culture. And I think when they came to us, we really tried to treat them in a manner that would let people know that the collection was intact and that nothing was hidden. And that everything that we dealt with in terms of the collection was really above board. That it was really important to keep the integrity of the collection intact. The first opportunity we had for licensing collection came several years ago when we were approached by the creators of the show People of Earth. And they wanted to do, as part of one of their episodes, a UFO experiencer that would feature, an exhibit on Betty and Barney Hill. So that was really our first chance, but since then we've had the opportunity to license mostly images, but also some documents and other things to other productions. Most recently, Eyewitness UFO, which is a production out of Toronto, Canada. But it's one of those things where there's kind of a constant stream of interest in the story. And it's one that really doesn't go away, because no matter what you're trying to say about alien abduction, this story, this tale, this narrative is always kind of the reference point from which, other, instances occur. When I was first approached about this collection, I was somewhat skeptical, and personally I remain a skeptic about their story. However, over the intervening years, I've seen just the real strong interest in the collection, both by skeptics and by true believers. And it has helped kind of solidify in my mind the popular culture importance of this collection. It really is kind of foundational in terms of, our ideas about aliens and about alien abduction. And I think for that, that has really altered, I think my view of how I see this collection. It makes me proud that it was preserved here at UNH.